Thursday's English. And today what we're going to do is we're going to be writing, we're going to be using our planning to write and then evaluate our character description. Now, if you looked yesterday, one of the things was about using a prepositional phrase to improve our writing. And that's what we're going to start with today, looking at that a bit more. So our aim is to write and evaluate an effective character description. And we're going to be looking to see if you can identify prepositional phrases and use them in expanded noun phrases. We're going to see if you can use a checklist to help you write an effective character and if you can edit your work. So, prepositional phrases. Groups of words that can be added to a noun phrase to give extra information. So here we've got our noun phrase, our sentence. The Egyptian god stepped towards me. So our noun phrase is the ancient Egyptian god. Okay, that's our expanded noun phrase. Let's expand it even more. Click. The ancient Egyptian god with the head of a jackal stepped towards me. Okay. So prepositions are those words that show the relationship of the noun to other words, often showing position or time. And examples are with, from, on, under, in, next to, behind. There are others, but those are a few. Okay, so this is a prepositional phrase because it starts with the head of a jackal. It's telling us more about it in relationship to the other things. Okay. So I've got you some phrases, a whole load of phrases, and what I want you to do is I want you to read through them and I want you to think about them. And I want you to decide whether they are a prepositional phrase which might be useful in our description of ISIS. And if you think it is, you just give it a tick. If you think it is a prepositional phrase but not useful for our description of ISIS, then put a cross. If you look at it and go, well, it's a phrase but not a prepositional phrase, then just neatly cross it out like this. Okay, no scribbling, just a neat line. All right, so that's the task I want you to do. So look on your notebook page, look at those prepositional phrases, those phrases, and we'll see how many of them are prepositional phrases and which ones we can and don't want to use. Okay, pause the video now and go and do that now. How did you get on? So here are some example answers. So let's start with the ones that aren't prepositional phrases at all. So they don't start with one of those preposition words. So endlessly and seemingly futile. Silent and sorrowfully. Silently and sorrowfully, two adverbs, but no preposition. Wore a crown of gold. No. Okay, so let's have a look at some that were prepositional phrases, but no good in our description. All right. So between the electric cars. That's not going to help. We're not writing about a story with electric cars, are we? Among the icicles. Not many icicles in ancient Egypt. It's quite a hot place, as you can see behind me. There you go. Over the rainbow. Not in this story. But all of those between, among, and over have got those place words or those joining words that tell us about the relationship. So yes, they're prepositional phrases, but they're not for this story. Which leaves us with this section here. From the banks of the Nile. Oh, I think I could find a way to use that. In the bushes. So the preposition is in. With the tear-streaked face. Underneath her tired feet. In the stunning jeweled robes. In front of her majestic wings. So those are all things that we might use in our description of Isis. And here's how we could have done them. The yellow gritty sand from the banks of the Nile blew in her sobbing face as she walked. So you can see we're describing the sand. We've started it with two adjectives, the yellow and gritty, with a comma. And then we've added a preposition, from the banks of the Nile, blew in her sobbing face. The Queen, so that's our noun phrase, the Queen, determiner, noun, the Queen. That's our preposition with the Queen with the tear straight face marched onwards. Okay. The hot, hard ground, that's our expanded noun phrase with our comma to separate up our adjectives. The hot, hard ground underneath her tired feet. Okay, tells us more about the ground underneath her tired feet. That's where the ground was. The Queen in the stunning jeweled robes tells us where she was. She was in the stunning jeweled robes. Approached the man in the local village. So you'll soon be writing your character description, but I thought it was worth just reading through the character description of Osiris to help you remember how we can do these things. So we don't just have to say what he looked like, we can give little hints and clues to how our character is, not just what they look like. Think about that, what we have to include, that checklist. Okay, so let's have a look at this one. Osiris was finally alone in his chamber with only his most trusted servants. He sat in a chair and let out a gentle sigh. It had been a long day for the mighty pharaoh, and now he was tired. One of his servants removed his crown, and another carefully took his crook from him. He smiled and thanked them warmly. He removed his false beard himself and passed it to the waiting servant. I am glad to be here in my chamber at last, he confided in hushed voice. It was wonderful being entertained tonight by those fine musicians, but the heat has made me very sleepy. His servants helped Osiris to remove his fine golden robes and assisted him as he dressed in his nightwear. He was a remarkable sight even without his ceremonial robes. His strong muscles and perfect posture made him seem powerful and tall, even though he was no taller than the average man. He spoke softly but commandingly. The night is hot. Please may I trouble you for a glass of water? His servants were quick to bring him what their master had requested. They knew they were lucky to have such a kind and respectful pharaoh, and they adored him. He thanked them graciously and quickly drank the icy liquid with powerful gulps. His calm brown eyes surveyed the room. The chamber contained little more than his wooden bed and chair, and yet he preferred this simple room to the other opulent parts of the palace. You may leave me now. Thank you for your attentions, he said firmly. At last he was alone. He liked being pharaoh, and he was good at it. He was pretty sure of that fact, for his dear wife Isis and his grandfather Ra, who had chosen him for the job, would never lie to him, and they said it was true. He saw it too in the faces of his subjects. He felt very fortunate, yet being pharaoh involved a lot of noise and activity, and Osiris liked time to be alone. He leant back in the chair slowly and purposefully as he let out slow, deliberate breaths from the depths of his lungs, taking in the feeling of peace and relaxation. So in that description, it reads a bit like a part of a story, but it tells us about how he moved, what he thought, how kind he was. It tells us lots of different things about him, including his physical description, his backstory. Okay, let's have a look forward at this. So what I want you to do is to take some time looking over your planning sheet from yesterday. Okay, and the feature descriptions that we talked about on Tuesday, I think it was. Did you describe the character's appearance? Did you describe his background and past? Did you have actions, thoughts, and feelings? Okay. So look at those things because they're clues to what you're going to look at the end. So you need to think about including them. All right. So you're planning to write your character description. You've already planned it, so you know what you're going to write. Okay. So go write. That's it. Go and write your character description of Isis. Okay, so when you've done that, you've come back here. If you haven't done it, go away and do it. Pause the video and then come back when you've finished your description. Okay. Now we're going to get on to the last bit, which is to use the checklist and evaluate it. So use a different color pen to make changes to your describer. So in school, we use a green pen. Use a different color font if you've typed it. Use a different color pen. It doesn't have to be green. I don't mind, as long as it's not the same one as you wrote in the first time, so I can see your changes. Because if you remember, one of our criteria, our success criteria, was you can edit. So I need to see where you've made your edits. Okay, so have a look at these. Did you describe the character's appearance? If you didn't, go back and look now and find a place to put it in. Did you describe the character's background or past? Again, if you didn't, go back and put it in. Who was Isis? How have you told me that she's the pharaoh's wife? Okay. The character's actions, thoughts, and feelings. How was she feeling at this point? And did you describe her past personality? What sort of person was she? And then your punctuation and grammar challenges. Have you included expanded noun phrases? Go back and look at your writing and underline somewhere where you've included an expanded noun phrase. Did you get that prepositional bit in? Prepositional phrase. And then have you used capital letters, full stops, commas, question marks, and exclamation marks correctly? Those are required for Year 4 writing. And then have a quick think what you were good at, and next time what you think you would change. Okay, those are the bits I want you to do. All right, sorry about the dogs. Okay, so that's today's task, to write and then evaluate your character description. Good luck, and I will see you soon.